If you produce music or mix at any level, you probably already know about this. But across the decades, we've been making the music louder and louder and louder. And even though we might think that it's because we want to hear things louder, and trust me, we do. But that's not what this is all about. This is about how we got there. Today, my friend, we're talking about one of the biggest heavyweights and legends in this little thing in the music industry we like to call the loudness wars. That's right, my friend. Today, we're checking the godfather of limiters, the Waves Ultramaximizer lineup. But we're not just looking at them. We're comparing them to see if it's really worth it to do the upgrade. Anyway, I'm talking too much. Let's go check it out. I'm on Relance testing now. We break it down, baby. Alright, my friend, thank you so much for being here once again in another video. And as usual, remember to like, subscribe, and do all those cool little things that we like to do on YouTube so that you and I can stay in touch with each other. Alright, my friend, Waves limiters, L1, L2, L3, and all the variations of L3. And right now, the brand new L4 Ultramaximizer. And all of them are great in their own right, but I feel like throughout the years, engineers and music producers have been like depurating the ones that they like the most for different kind of tasks. Also, there's a few that they just use L1 or L2 for everything and that's it. And they're all valid. But the other day when the L4 dropped, I got it and I did a little bit of a short. And somebody asked me in the comments, is there any difference between L2, L3, and L4? And that, my friend, is exactly what we're going to find out today. But first, I want to start with the question, which one do you use and why? And I know this video's niche might be like very small, at least for my channel, because I know that not all of you are music producers or engineers. A lot of you are just guitar players. But if you're a guitar player and you're still here for the ride just because you like to rock with me, let me know in the comments by typing rock with you so I know that you're rocking with me. All right, let's go check it out. So we are on my computer, my friend, and as you can see, the first thing that I have is the L4 loaded because it's the new elephant in the room, you know what I mean? It's new, it's modern, it's slick. Look at the user interface. I think it looks perfect for today's day and age. It's not only a cool refresh in the way it looks, but it also has a couple new features that I appreciate. And if you want me to geek out about the L4 in another video, let me know in the comment section. Hey dude, do an L4 video, just so that I know, okay? But let's move on. So yeah, we have the L4 and it's great. Then we have the L3, and as you can see, this one looks like it's like straight out of the 80s. And I don't know if it's like because I have like maybe version 14 or 13 of the Waves plugins, because they kind of like want to force me every year to pay like $300 to like update my plugins. And I kind of like be reluctant to it, but I might need to do it soon. But that's besides the fact. I don't know if there's actually like an updated UI for this actually, but it looks old. Like some of the computers in the 90s, which is probably when this thing came out. And then the legendary L2 Ultramaximizer. Everybody's sweetheart. I think we all have different hacks and ways we like to use it. And honestly, this is a really, really groundbreaking limiter because it sounds so good on everything. I mean, you can call it transparent, but it's really not. It has a very, very defined sound. And it's got like a high mid-range, which in the loudness wars has always been great. And maybe one of the reasons why most people used to like it. But I feel like in today's day and age, most people tend to use other kinds of limiters. Like the one from Ozone, for example. I know a lot of people use the Fab Filter one, but I don't have that one. The ML4000 ML1 limiter. This limiter is one of the best that I've ever tried, and I think it's like a sleeper. Not a lot of people use it, but it's one of my favorite limiters to get a little bit of a push when I want to have something that is weighty. Not just hype on the top end, no, but weight. It's like retains the low-end punch that you have in your mix really good on tubas because of that reason. Where most limiters will start like shaving off the bottom end, this guy stays fat and chubby and delicious. And honestly, when I was trying the L4 for the first time, this one is the one that totally destroyed it every single test that I did without trying the special features that the L4 has. But of course, when you start using the things that make the L4 very specific and special, like for example, the different kinds of profiles that it has, when you engage the clipping circuit, and when you put the upward compression most of all, then of course you cannot compete. But limiter to limiter, if you're not using the McDSP ML1, you better should. It's sick. Okay, and after that big segue that we did, just showing you the other limiters that I like to use, let's get back to the wave selection. But first, this would be the perfect moment for you to go get a great set of headphones, speakers, AirPods, whatever you feel comfortable listening to music so that we can have a meaningful conversation in the comment section down below. All right, let's do this. Okay, let's start listening to just the tone of each limiter on its own. Because like I was telling you earlier, they do have a different sound. So let's just hear their own sonic signature, so to speak. And then Let me do this quick disclaimer. I am not claiming in any way, shape, or form this is going to be a scientific test in any way. This is just about appreciation and about things we hear. I'm going to tell you what I hear, and I would like this to be a discussion. I want to hear you and read you in the comment section down below telling me what you hear, even if it challenges what I'm saying, so that we can all learn from each other, especially the people reading the comments. Hopefully nobody gets too confused with like bad information, because also we know that there's bots and all that kind of stuff, blah, 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 whatever. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you that, and on that note, let's hear the limiters. No limiting happening whatsoever. Like no special features included. So the closest to like bare bone comparisons we can have. Okay, let's go. Okay, so there you go. I'll be super curious to hear what you thought about those three limiters put back to back. Did you hear any difference whatsoever in the tone? And let me know which one you think it was the most transparent. I want to read you in the comment section down below. And while you're there, remember to like, subscribe, and do all those cool little things I would like to do on YouTube. And enjoy this little bossa nova, my friend. I hope your day keeps getting better and better and better. All right, let's go. So I hope you already did your comments, and I'm going to tell you what I think. Honestly, I want to say that maybe the L4 sounded like the most transparent of them all. Very small, if any, like sonic input whatsoever. In my opinion, the L2 and the L3 are very close, but in different parts of the spectrum. Where the L2, for example, in my opinion, felt like it had a little bit more like mid-range presence in the top. Maybe, I don't know, 2K, 3K. The L3 sounded like it had a little bit of a push around like maybe 400 that made the bass sound a little bit fuller and more like intelligible in my ears, and at least in the headphones, right? And the L4, at least in like this modern mode with the release the way it is right now with no clipping, which is the only thing that I did. I took the clipping out and all the dithers out. The L4 sounded super transparent, like when engaged, almost like a true bypass, I want to say. But L4 has a mode right here called L2. Let's hear if they are similar in any way. So very funny what happened to me right there. The second I engaged the L4, I thought, wait, I thought this was transparent, but I hear like that top end mid-range thing happening exactly like in the L2. So of course, there is something to it, right? I don't know if they're exactly the same. It felt to me like maybe the L2, the original for that matter, still had a little bit more grit. Let's hear it again. And then something about the width of the L4 too manifests itself a little bit different, where, for example, I hear the L4 getting wider in the higher frequencies. I feel like the L2 original, it's getting wider in all the spectrum. I hear a little bit more weightiness happening on the sides. But my friend, I hope you understand that we're talking about nickeling and diming here. I've been training my ears for 20 years. I need to be able to hear these kind of differences. And of course, the more you do it and the more you change one thing and the other, the more you start like recognizing what's happening. And just for example, somebody that knows art will recognize different shades of a color. For example, what would be chartreuse or fuchsia or pink or violet or lilac? And for us, it might be purple, pink, red. You know what I mean? Same thing happens in audio. And I know that some of you have a very trained ear and that you guys are hearing something either similar to what I'm hearing or even more refined than what I'm hearing. So that's exactly why I want to read you all in the comments. But those are my appreciations right now with this quick little test right now that I'm doing with my flawed ears and my flawed headphones, but with all the honesty that I can have, you know what I mean? And now let's just hear quickly, boom, 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 L3, L2, L4. Yeah, I feel like the differences are still there. In my opinion, L4 still sounds different than L2. And I want to say it has to have something to do with the release because I have no clue how to get them correct. That's why I just left the L2 in automatic release control and I just left this in X1 because I have no clue what it is. And I just thought if I put it in L2, that's probably the same. I hope that was the case. But now, of course, there's a couple things that you can do in L4 that you cannot do in L2. For example, this stereo linking, or in this case, delinking, which is something that I really like to do. And I've been doing this for years, almost like all my stereo buses. I tend to split my dynamic controls. I always use 2 mono plugins. I feel like the width in my mix just like stays true to what I wanted to hear, as opposed to when I put a compressor like this or a limiter, the image collapses to whatever the limiter wants it to be. And I am the one making the decisions here, not my limiters. Or I like to think that, especially when I have a vision in mind. So it's cool that L4 has it already included in it. Yeah, right there, the difference is massive now. You can hear instantly when I go from the L4, even in the L2 mode, but I delink the stereo signal, all of a sudden it feels like I'm between 2 towers of sound. But the second I go to the L2, it just does this, like zoop, it just condenses. It's still like the same width, but the sound spectrum just like collapses a little bit. And that might be something you want, you know, but in my case, I don't want it. And I've been like splitting this L2 forever. Okay, but that was very fun and dandy. We heard the sounds. That was very, very finicky. I know that a lot of people were like, does it even matter? Like, is there even a difference? Like, why am I even listening to right here? And I know maybe I should have done this after. I should have started with a shock value. But now, my friend, in this part of the test, why don't we check what happens? We actually start squashing the signals. Okay, so let's start by setting our threshold and our ceiling. And this is the thing that I always enjoy the most about L2. And that's the reason why I always use L2 instead of like other limiters, even if they sound better, even ML1 and Mac DSP. If you're listening, you need to add this feature to your plugins as well. The L collections of waves always has this little thing in the center, which allows you to drop the threshold and the ceiling at the same time, like this. And let's say if you were trying to just capture the peaks, that's exactly what I would do. And then I would add maybe like a dB or something like that, restricting the dynamic range instead of just catching the peaks. Effectively, what a setting like this would do is like it eliminates the peaks and it brings the bottom sound a little bit closer to them, restricting the dynamic range, making it smaller by 1 dB, giving you a louder mix or the opportunity to push your mix higher in one of your next gain stages. So why don't we take this moment to change the different modes and hear if there's any difference right here. They're all very similar, but where I hear the biggest differences is smooth, aggressive, and safe. And then, of course, L2, we already know what it is. And then modern, totally transparent. I think that's what they were going for it. I hear enough bass, mid-range. It's not hyping too much of the top end either. So let's say if you're very, very anal about the tone of your mix and you don't want to change it, probably this is going to be your setting. It doesn't just get louder, it gets fuller. Let's check what will the other guys do. Again, in that first pass, I think like it was way more evident what I said about the bottom end getting like beefier on the L3 Ultramaximizer. The difference is very evident. And then another thing that I caught right now on the L4 is that it allows the kick to cut through in a little bit of a better way. Like you feel the punch of the kick a little bit better, where the L3, you are hearing how it's taxing that kick a little bit more. But since it's producing that extra harmonic structure, do you really miss that extra pokiness of the kick drum? I think I liked it. And that's maybe why I felt that it sounded a little bit like tape, because it's shaping that bottom end, giving you extra harmonics so it sounds beefier and fat while still shaving the transient, where the L4, it's like giving you the perception like it's still allowing that transient to go through. Let's try to be a little bit more aggressive and add maybe like 2 dBs of compression. Again, that bottom end on the L3 is like so seductive. It sticks out like a sore thumb. It's like such a different sound. But my friend, this video has been long enough. Let's go get a few conclusions. I can tell you, I could do tests like that forever. I was about to start doing drums and guitars and bass and this and that, but this video has been huge already. But I think like a few things we can put to bed right now with this video. First and foremost, the question that I got, are L2, L3, L4 any different? Yes, they are very, very different. Of course, depending on the levels of training in your ear, you might or may not hear these differences. But if you know what I'm talking about, I know that you heard all these differences because they're so apparent. And nobody can come telling me like, oh, maybe the compression of YouTube doesn't let me hear. Turn that 4K on or something. I put my videos in 4K and that resolution is way plenty to hear these differences. I'm telling you right now. And I'm going to go listen to the video and tell you if I hear the differences there, but I'm pretty sure I did. Come on, Jorge, show me. Did you hear the differences? All right. But there you go. They are different. Not only in the way they function, but in the way they sound. And the more you start compressing, the more you hear those differences. They're very, very apparent. L2 is the pinnacle of limiting. It sounds great. You know, great bass, great top end, a little bit of extra sound so that you can feel like the sound that's inflated, not just like limited. A little bit of extra hair, a little bit of extra frequencies. It just sounds great. We all love it. And that's why we got loud mixes, because we thought, hey, this sounds great when we're trying to get loud. It's like almost not tasking us in any way. And then of course, newer plugins do better job, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And then L3, I always wonder why it didn't take off as like the replacement of L2. And then I know why, because it sounds so different. So the person that was like so used to using L2 will never use L3 because it just sounds too different. And of course, you can start changing the profiles or the modes or whatever you want, but the core sound of that plugin is what it is. And L3 sounds totally different. L4, in my opinion, they pick up where L2 left off, and now they have a plugin that actually doesn't have the flaws that maybe L2 used to have, or maybe somebody would think they're flaws. Like what, for example? It allows a little bit of that transient, so it is a little bit more pokey. I would be curious to see how the true peak actually manifests itself in a meter, for example, because I want to say that maybe L2 is capturing more true peaks than L4 it is without the true peak engaged, right? And that's why we hear that little extra transient and that little extra pokiness, especially on the drums. But is that really what you want? Especially right now in the era of like iPhone speakers, you know, that if you have a little bit of an extra transient, you're probably going to punish that little speaker and it's not going to sound good anymore. Especially when you're already pushing the levels all the way hot, right? So that's for debate already. But very quickly, L2 and L4 are basically the same limiter. L4 picks up where L2 left off. It's cleaner, bigger bass, more transparent. That would be the differences that I hear. L3, it's a total animal on its own. In my opinion, it sounds like tape. It shaves the peaks, gives you extra bottom end, extra girth, dare I say, maybe extra width. And if you use it correctly, it might be perfect for drums, for example. Because you don't have to use L2 only on your master bus or on your 2 bus, or you can use it anywhere. L3 sounds like it could be really good on drums, on bass, cellos, and anything that has a long sustain that you really want to shave off the peaks and keep it like smooth and fat sounding. Is it becoming my favorite? All right, my friend, but this has been a long enough video. And if you stay till the very end, please let me know by commenting Maximizers in the comment section so that I know that you're a real one, that you stay till the very, very end. But other than that, I want to hear your thoughts on the Maximizers, L2, L3, L4. Which one is your favorite? Which one are you using? Let me know all about it in the comment section down below. And while you're there, remember to like, subscribe if you can financially support me. Smash that super thanks button. I thank you so much. And if you have some time to watch another video, go watch this one right here, my friend. And I'll be waiting for you right there. All right, see you soon.